What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you guys another video. Today I'm bringing you guys a video on Lupinranger versus Patoranger, episode 47. This is the first part of the final episodes for Lupinranger versus Patoranger. Apparently there's like 5 parts, because the last episode that everyone's been talking about is going to be episode 51, and we're on episode 47. And I have to say this much right now, this episode was really, really good. A really great way to start it, and some very interesting stuff happened. For starters, this episode continues where the last episode kind of alluded to, with the whole entire idea that, you know, Kairi and the others are the Lupinrangers, and the Patorangers are now deciding to look into it more, specifically Sequoia. And the thing is that Sequoia ends up sending out a message to Umika asking her to go out to lunch and, you know, wants to be nice to her. And the thing is that, you know, she's interested in taking the day off and doing that, but at the same time we have Toma and Kairi that are suspicious of the fact that this is suddenly coming up and she's deciding to do this, and, you know, what this could really lead to, because again, they are the global police, which means that they are kind of their enemies in a way, and so that's the other issue. So this leads to them spying on Umika and Sequoia. Now in the meantime, we also have Zamigo, who actually had some surgery done on him by Goche. And the thing is that it's not clear exactly as to what she did. All we know is that something is going to happen that's going to make it so that Lupin Red is not going to have an easy time battling him. So that's really important. Again, as we know, Lupin Red has the Victory Striker right now, which gives him a huge advantage over Zamigo, and we saw that in the last battle that he had with Zamigo, where he did really well with the Victory Striker being able to tell him what happens, like what his movements will be before he does them. So keep that in mind. Now, what does end up happening is that Umika and Sequoia go on their date to a restaurant. They have a conversation. There's discussion of several different things. One of the main things is the whole disappearance 2 years ago, which, when that whole topic is brought up, he mentions, like, do you know anyone that was affected by it? And the thing is that suddenly she gets a message from Kairi saying, come to the bathroom, and she's like, were you guys spying on me? And she was annoyed at first, but then what happens is that they explain to her, you realize that he is a global police officer, and he might be realizing what your identity is, and might be figuring out that you're a Lupinranger. And she's like, oh, did I screw up? Did I make a mistake already? And the thing is that technically she didn't, because their alibis still exist. Otherwise they would have just come right at her. So that's an important point, and that's actually accurate. So the thing is that this is all happening, and she realizes that she has to go back in there, but she has to be careful with what she does, because otherwise she would have slipped up and revealed that, you know, she knew someone, and her whole story could have been, you know, revealed just because of the fact that they seem to be getting along and they're very friendly. But what happens is, at the same time, is that Jim gets a message, you know, Agent Carter gets a message that there is a gangler attack happening. So what happens is that Sequoia is called by Kichiro to join them on the scene. Now, what does also happen is that Noelle enters the headquarters and asks where Sequoia is, and the thing is, they say that he has a day off, and they're trying not to give away the fact that they're trying to find out the identities of the Lupinrangers, because if that happened, then obviously Noelle could easily tell the Lupinrangers that they have to be careful. So they're intentionally trying to avoid giving him more information than he would you know, likely want to have, which could otherwise help them and put them in their favor. So this is obviously them planning ahead. Now, what does end up happening is that eventually he does join them on the scene, but prior to him leaving, he says that the bill's on him for the meal, and he says, you know, go to Jur, be safe. And the thing is that at first she thought that he was actually trying to interrogate him. I mean, he was trying to interrogate her. But the thing is that in reality, what she learns from how he acts and his personality is that he doesn't believe, he wants to protect her. And it's obvious, it's super obvious that he believes that they're good people, and he doesn't want to feel that he's wrong, and he wants to protect Umika as much as possible, even if it turns out that he was wrong in the end. He doesn't want Kichiro or Tsukasa to attack them or do anything wrong to them. And I actually think that that's really well done, and there's some great emotional music done in here, and some, you know, it just feels dramatic, it feels intense. Now, at the same time, what we do end up seeing is that the Lupinrangers spot Zamigo, and Zamigo's walking by, so Lupinrangers end up having to fight him. In the meantime, we end up seeing that the Patorangers have to fight Goche, and the Patorangers are with Noelle, so Noelle joins them in their fight. Now, as far as the Lupinranger side of the battle goes, and these are two different battles happening. The Lupinrangers battle happens mostly first, which what ends up happening is that in their battle they transform. We end up seeing them use their different boosts, you know, their different Kaito boosts, and what happens is that, you know, Kairi even uses the Victory Striker, but even with that, he's not able to defeat Zamigo, because Zamigo gained another safe from Goche, and this safe contains actually a Lupin collection item that's based off of the Lion Hao device from Ninja, which in America was Ninja Steel, and that was for the Lion Fire Zord from that season. So that device is, you know, it's a repaint of blue, and the thing is, though, it does that it allows whoever holds it to become liquefied if they are hit by something, where an attack will just go right through them and not hurt them. So in other words, even with the Victory Striker's abilities to like detect where Zamigo will go, it doesn't matter if he gets hit or not, because the attacks won't do anything to him, and it will be as if he's like not there, even though he is, and he can still do damage to them, but they can't do damage to him. So this is a very important detail, and this leads to them losing in their battle against Zamigo, and Zamigo eventually goes on his way after they try a number of different attacks against him. Then, in the meantime, we end up seeing that the Patorangers have to deal with Goche, and Goche uses a Lupin collection item that's based off of the sword from Ranger, the one that you know, Kiba Ranger used, or in America, which was the White Ranger from Mighty Morphin, used, but it's done differently. Like, the design's a little different. It's not exactly the same. And what we end up seeing is that with this, you know, we end up seeing him use, you know, we end up seeing Goche use this to create like her arm becomes a sword, and she uses it to do some really devastating attacks to the Power Rangers. And what happens is that she's like, who shall I slash up and see into their insides of? Like, she basically wants to dissect them and destroy them. And the thing is that Noelle offers to do it because he admits to the Power Rangers that he's not human, that he was a survivor of this race that that was from a different planet that was affected by the Ganglers, and basically reveals his past a little bit to them, without talking about Arsene Lupin and all that stuff, because that's not really related to them, but the whole Gangler thing and his origin is still connected. So what happens is that he goes with Goche, and then from there the Power Rangers are left to attack a golem, and this golem is stronger than past golems that we've seen the Lupinrangers or the Power Rangers having to fight. And the Patorangers end up getting all of Noelle's versus machines. So he gets the Cyclone, it's some of the ones that the Lupinrangers had. It's Siren Striker, it's his X-Changer, you know, all these things are given to them because he knows he could die. And so what happens is that they end up having to, you know, use Pat Kaiser, and then eventually they switch because of the fact that they're not strong enough to Siren Pat Kaiser, because of the fact that it's way more powerful and way more useful, and they use it against this golem, which allows them to defeat it, which is good. But things are obviously not in the best situation. In fact, we see shortly after this that the that Noel is brought to the Gangler world, and Degranio gets to confront Noel and sees him, and he's ready to find out more about him. Now, in the preview, what we end up seeing is that for episode 48, there's going to be a live execution of Noel. Now, as far as whether or not he'll actually die, probably not, obviously, but it will probably be this demonstration that will be viewed around like Japan, and there'll be this whole entire point with the Lupinrangers and the Power Rangers trying to rescue their friend, and they're both for and against him. And what we also see in the preview is that there will be a point where they will be asked to reveal their identities, and we also see from different people's point of views from their phones and other things like that, that they're watching and seeing the Lupinrangers revealing their identities to the world. And we even see towards the end of the preview that there's a moment where they are maskless, but they're wearing their regular clothing, and they have their versus changers together like they did when they make their promises. So this likely could lead to them potentially, you know, finally really revealing it. I mean, I think it's going to happen next episode, and I'll be very curious to see how the Power Rangers will react and respond to this. You know, will this lead to them being locked up? Will they be in support of them? Will they be enemies still? How will this work? That's the one thing that we've been wondering for quite some time. In fact, I mean, I would say since the first episode, really, we've been wondering what will happen when they finally reveal who they are to the Power Rangers, because like since the start they've been against each other, and this episode, if it is that episode, will be a really big deal. Now again, the other thing is that you maybe think to yourself, why would Noel? Now, one thing I thought of right away was, why would Noel give up himself to the Ganglers? Now, this is something completely separate. I'm just bringing this up just because I thought about it, and I thought that this would be kind of something interesting to touch upon. And the reason why I thought about it was because it's like, yeah, why would he? And I think the main reason is because he knows that really neither team is strong enough to take out the really big enemies that are left in the show, and the only way that they're going to be able to do this is if they work together. Again, double status golds mean that they require a lot of teammates, and if you have it where there's like multiple safes on a Gangler, that means you have to have a lot of people using it at once, and there's 7 of them right there. So if if all of them do 1 or even 2, you're guaranteeing that you can, you know, deal with Goche, deal with Zamigo, deal with Degranio, and all these different Ganglers. And again, I'm hoping and I think that's why it's important to remember that in this episode they couldn't deal with Zamigo, because they didn't have enough to support them. They weren't strong enough on their own, and they're still against each other. Even though they have moments where they're like working together, it's not like they're really together. Same with going up against Goche. If they had the whole team, if they had all 7 of them, then it would be easier. But the way that things are structured, it creates these limitations where even though the teams themselves are great, if they're not together, they really are limited for what they can do to bigger enemies like Goche, like Zamigo, like Degranio. You know, that's why they were able to defeat Destra, because Destra was, you know, a major enemy, and all 7 of them managed to defeat Destra. If they expect to do that with anyone else, they have to work together. But this I think was Noel basically saying this will create a reason for them to reveal their identities and finally work together without having to have this constant feuding between the two teams, but instead have them actually working as a united force. And I think that's really what it is. You know, I think he believes that, you know, if he does this, he will unite these teams. And in the end, and I've said this for quite some time now, I knew from the start that Noel was going to be a uniting force between these two teams. There's no doubt that was going to be the case, and I think that this is really showing it right here, that he is trying to like get into that desperation mode where like things are just so tough, and if he sets them in this motion where like they have to rescue him because otherwise he'll just die, they're going to both go out of their way to do stuff. And if it means having to unveil their identities and work together, they're going to do it. And this is going to like lead to the end of the season, and that will be really good. So overall, I thought this episode was really interesting. I'm looking forward to next week's episode for sure. I'm hoping that'll be really, really good, and I can't wait to see what will happen once the Lupinrangers have their identities revealed, not only to the public but mainly to the Power Rangers. That will make such a big difference in everything, to see where things will go from here. Will they be locked up? Will they be buddy-buddy? Will they have some distrust? How will that work? I want to know, and I'm very much so curious about it. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to know you guys' opinions about all this. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think that they will become buddy-buddy instantly? Or do you think that they will be locking up the Lupinrangers, the Power Rangers? You think the Power Rangers will be locking them up? How do you think that they will respond? Will they be surprised? Will they be angry? Will they be happy? How do you think the response will be? Do you think that there will be some kindness? How do you think this whole thing will work out? I'm very curious, and I'm also curious to see what will happen eventually with, Kagori and Hilltop. Will things expand with them? Just different things. I'm looking forward to seeing where they'll go from here. The season's almost over, and then we'll be having a quick mini-series, and then we'll be starting Real Soldier, which I'm very much so looking forward to. They revealed the mechas. They revealed the suits. They've revealed what else have they revealed? They've revealed what the changers look like. They revealed what the the gimmick device will be for the season. They've revealed a couple of different things, but they haven't done any trailers yet. There's no cast reveals yet. So all these things are up for debate as to when they'll happen. We know for sure that the season's supposed to be airing mid-March. So keep that in mind, and stay tuned. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.